Good morning, everyone. I hope you are doing well. This is Patrick Lee, and it is time for another installment in the ongoing podcast, Midweek Motivation Live, with me, your host. I hope you are doing well today. It's a beautiful morning, brisk 59 degrees in downtown Amarillo, Texas. The sky is blue. The sun is shining. Got a little rain last night. We're happy about that. Everything seems to be fresh and crisp outside. We love that. I hope you're all doing well. People already tuning in to watch the show. We're going to be talking about imposter syndrome today. Good morning, Sal. Good to see you on here as well. Thanks for the messages last week. I appreciate that. We're going to be talking about imposter syndrome. What is that? How does it affect your life and my life? Hey, Pete, good to see you tuning in as well. And you know the drill. We will be back with that right after this. And we are back ready to dig into this topic today, imposter syndrome. Many of you have talked to me about it. You have shared things in your life where you don't feel enough. Maybe you don't feel like you are the person that you are destined to be. And let's talk about that a little bit today. What is imposter syndrome? What are we talking about? And we're just going to dig into that. Let me get a drink of water here real quick. I have a little bit of a sore throat this morning. I've been talking a lot lately. That's what I kind of do for a living, is talk. My. It's bottle number one. There's my first liter, and there's bottle number two coming up right behind it. Got to get in my water. Drink your water. Jordan Maxwell, my friend, says, drink your blankety blank water. Get your water in. That's what you need to do. Imposter syndrome. I've heard this so much. It's been a topic for a long time. What is imposter syndrome? Sometimes you just don't feel like the person you are portraying yourself to be is your true self. We've talked a lot in the past about speaking your truth, how important that is, but also speaking God's truth over you and how much more important that is. Have news for you. If all we ever do is speak our truth, but our truth doesn't align up with the Word of God, then our truth is the one that is fallible, correct? Our truth is the one that is negotiable and wavers when things come along. Our truth is the one that can be changed, but God's truth, of course, is eternal and infallible, the Word of God. But we hear this a lot in the business world, in relationships, in churches, in our families. Someone is the old term, fake it till you make it. And a lot of people that get into business may actually do that. They try to act successful. In the real estate world, we teach people that a lot. If you go out to talk to a client and you have what we call commission breath, meaning you really have a desperation or a dire need to get paid, that's going to come through in your speech. The way we speak has a lot to do with how we present ourselves in public, in a meeting, in a sales call, or in a meeting with a potential client at an appointment. And we teach people, of course, that your confidence will come through. So you want to be confident, right? Number one, you want to be confident in your speech. Your body language has a whole lot to do with how you speak as well. So you need to be open, but also in a position of authority when you're speaking. Bankers, insurance agents, and anytime you would go to an office in the old days, and you still see it. And from time to time, I will bring this up in a conversation with people in a booth. Like yesterday, I was sitting in a booth having breakfast with a friend, associate of mine. And in this particular booth, the seat, now my friend is already taller than me, a larger person than I am. But in this booth, the cushion on the side of the booth that I was sitting on was non-existent. And I was sitting down lower on, like, I could feel the boards of the seat under my rear end, right? And my other friend is like, wow, this is really cushiony on my side. He has all of the cushion. He's taller than me already. And in the booth, it looked like he was a good foot taller than me sitting in this booth. And it gives you this feeling of inferiority, right? When you're sitting lower. And bankers used to do that. Their chairs would be higher and the chairs that you would have on the customer side of the desk would be lower. That was intentional because they wanted you to feel like you would look up to them, like you need them, and it gives them a position of authority. The king's throne, the queen's throne would always be elevated. It would be higher than everyone else. When someone is speaking, they're speaking at a pulpit or a podium. If it's on the floor, it's a pulpit. When it's on a stage, right? The stage would be higher, and you think it's just so people can see you better or see the speaker better, but it was actually done so the person would get on a higher level so they could have a position of authority. You would have to look up to them, and it automatically gives credibility to what they say. Does that mean that they're actually qualified to be up there? Sometimes, sometimes not. Sometimes that person is definitely 100% qualified to be speaking to you on the topic of conversation. And sometimes that person may be an imposter. So sometimes we think, well, I know them and they're not that big of a deal. But maybe they think they are, but they have acquired that level or that position. You may feel like they're an imposter, but that person may be highly qualified to be speaking on the topic they're talking about on stage, and you may not agree. But what happens if you're that person? Good morning, Larry. Good to see you watching as well, buddy. All the way from Oregon, the Oregon coast. Beautiful out there this time of year. Probably raining a lot, if I'm correct. If you didn't catch that at the beginning of the show, it's rained here for 2 days. It's nice and sunny today, kind of like an Oregon morning in the 50s. I love it. But that person may sometimes feel that they are an imposter and not qualified to be on stage. But if they have taken the job and they have been asked to do that, and they are, I knew it. How did I know that? It's pouring rain out there. But that person may not feel like they're qualified to be speaking. But number one, if they're being paid to speak, that's a professional speaker. Anytime you're paid to do the service that you provide, you are a professional. And all you have to know is one thing more than the people you're talking about, and automatically you can become an authority in that area. But there are people that are imposters. I'm going to give you the definition of imposter. Imposter syndrome. What is it? The imposter syndrome definition is the persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own efforts or skills. Sometimes you may be on stage. I've been asked to come speak beginning of the year at a conference. I've spoke a couple of times this year at a couple of different events, and looking at getting more into that in the future. Stage speaking, public speaking, providing more of a presence that way. But for the past couple of years, my soapbox, if you will, has been Midweek Motivation Live. My ability to get online and start talking to people live and around the world by way of the World Wide Web about different topics that may help people. And that is my goal, of course, is to help. But many people that are thrust into these positions suffer from this. And you'll hear a lot of people in the personal development space speak about this very topic, imposter syndrome, this persistent inability to believe that you deserve to be where you are, that you deserve to have the position that you have, or you deserve the honor or the right to speak on a particular topic. When I was in the 7th grade, the first speaking experience I got in public speaking was speech class. I think Mrs. Hennick was the teacher, and I had went and taken a semester class of tennis lessons at the high school tennis court. So we had to do a speech, and it's funny that this was brought into this topic today because I had no intention. It just came to my mind. I remember now. While we're on this topic, one of the first instances I had to speak on a topic was speaking on tennis. And I actually went to the encyclopedia and typed up a bunch of things about tennis because we didn't have computers. You couldn't copy and print back then. And I wrote some things out or typed them up to have a little speech. And we had to do about a 5-minute speech on a topic. And I researched it, and I had taken some lessons with 2 very cute high school girls that were on the tennis team, as I remember, and very excited about that. And I got to stand there and give a speech about tennis. Did I feel like I was an authority on tennis? Absolutely not. Was I successful as a tennis player? Absolutely not. But I probably knew one or two things more than the people in the class did about tennis. And I was able to stand there and stutter and fumble my way through this speech on tennis. So many people have this, whether you own a business, you own a company, you're a speaker, a traveling professional, you may have these experiences and you do not feel like you are qualified to be there. That is imposter syndrome. You may be asked to be a leader of a company or the leader of a committee to get something done, and you don't feel like you are qualified to do it, but you agree to do it anyway. And that self-doubt that creeps in while you wonder if you are worthy of that position is imposter syndrome. The inability to believe that you deserve to be there, or you have achieved anything as a result of your own efforts or skills. Am I qualified to be there? One of the things that is relevant, and we talk about in the business world as all of the time, as the economy continues to rise or fall, we call that the tide. How many of you have heard somebody say, hey, all ships rise on the same tide, right? The large ships and the small boats all rise on the same tide. The tide comes in 2 times a day, a 12-hour cycle. The tide comes in and the tide goes out. And the thing that is unavoidable is that all boats will rise on the same tide. The tide that's causing the large ships to rise and allow them in and out of the harbor to transport their cargo to make the money that they're being hired to transport to make. That same tide that causes that boat to rise can cause your independent small business to rise. And when that tide of the economy, the marketplace, whatever it is, rises, you can rise as well as an individual. So maybe you have been doing some studying on a topic. Maybe you have wanted to start a business. You've wanted to excel or achieve more in the business that you currently run. Do you not find it funny that you can't believe in your own mind that you are worthy to do more? If the economy does better and you have a little more income, that you can reinvest that into your business to allow you to adopt new systems, possibly acquire new software or hardware, or hire new people to help you achieve more in your business? Does it not make sense that if the political climate doesn't improve, that it affects not just one party, but it affects all parties? So as the tide goes in, it also goes out. And the people that are going to be successful are the ones that actually do the work, take the funds, take the relationships, take the things that they have learned, and they learn to reinvest them back into what they do. Reinvest your time back into your family, into your relationships, and believe that you deserve to be there. Obviously, you're in a relationship for a reason. Some relationships are parasitic. Some relationships are symbiotic. What does that mean? Some people are a parasite, right? And all they do is eat, eat, eat. They take. They glean every bit of knowledge, energy, sustenance, motivation they can from you, and you continue to provide that. That's a parasitic relationship, not healthy for anyone to be involved in one, right? But you also have symbiotic relationships where both parties benefit equally from that relationship. And you have those in your personal life. You have those in your business life as well. And you provide a service for a person, and that person in turn provides something back to you. There's a sucker fish. It lives on sharks and whales. Have you ever seen those? And that fish has a sucker on the top of its head, and it sucks onto and vacuums onto the side of a shark or a whale. And when these animals feed and they hunt and all of that meat is tossed about in the water, that fish also eats. It doesn't harm the person it's attached to, but it's attached onto it. And some of those fish and shrimps and other kind of organisms in the ocean, they clean the teeth of the shark. They eat the scraps that are left over and clean up the messes. So there's whatever it's called. That's a symbiotic relationship. I'm trying to think of the term of what that actually is, but it's a symbiotic relationship. Both parties benefit, right? Warren Buffett has had this quote out for a while, and I heard it again recently in Vegas, and I put it in my phone as a note, and I thought it was pretty profound. Warren Buffett says, when the tide goes out, you find out who's been swimming naked. And I thought that was hilarious. When the tide is in and everyone is in the water swimming, all you can see is the top of their head. I'm swimming, I'm swimming, I'm swimming, and you don't see what's going on under the surface. Many times we in business are putting our best foot forward. We're trying to present the most successful face forward to the public, to our friends, to our relationships, when under the surface we are dog paddling for everything that we are worth, just trying to stay above water and not drown. And many of us deal with imposter syndrome. I'm not qualified to be here. I shouldn't be running a company. I shouldn't be running my business. I don't know that I'm worthy. What happens if I fail? When the tide goes out, will I be found out that I am not as skilled as I should be, that I'm not as smart as I could be, that I'm not worthy to be on this platform speaking in front of these people? There are probably more people in the crowd that are much more deserving than I am. And that is something that can cause people to become paralyzed with fear. Imposter syndrome can paralyze you. And it's one of the leading causes of business failure, relationship failure. You start to have a certain level of success. And when that success may achieve or start to arrive at the level of knowledge that you have, you start to feel like you're no longer qualified. And at that point, it's when you need to take what you have learned and reinvest it into what you do. You need to go to another convention. You need to buy another book. You need to get another mentor to help you raise to the next level. In the Bible talks about us going from glory to glory to glory. And sometimes people think that I use the Bible too much. I don't think that you can use it too much. Sometimes they think I might manipulate scripture, but I don't. I just use the things that I hear, the things that I learned, the things that I'm taught. And this particular one that talks about us going from glory to glory, as we stay on while we're swimming. Imagine if you're a surfer and you ride a wave and then you go ride the next wave, you ride the next wave. I believe, to me, that that's kind of like going from glory to glory to glory. I'm not allowing myself to be washed over, to be plunged under the surface, to be drowned by what I'm going through. I get on top of the wave and I want to ride that wave, and then the next wave and the next wave. And every time I do that, I have to reinvest into myself. I have to learn a little more. I have to grow a little more. I need to invest more in me for that to happen. And I can go from glory to glory to glory. It's like going from mountaintop to mountaintop to mountaintop. And if I always believe that I'm an imposter, that I'm not worthy to be here, how hard is it going to be for me to move forward in my life and my relationships? You know what I mean? I hope this is resonating with some of you. Some of the symptoms of, Cody says, you need to get out of your way to reach the next level of success. Agreed. Yes. The person that says they can and the person that says they can't are both right. Amen. That's very, very good. Worthy of posting on screen. The person that says they can and the person that says they can't are both right. Many people I know have that as a sign on the wall in their office. I love that quote. It's a good one. These are some of the symptoms of imposter syndrome. We're going to talk about those real quick as we go through here. One of the first one is being a perfectionist. If you feel like you always have to be the best at everything, or you're not worthy, that's imposter syndrome. If you feel that you have to become superhuman, that you're a natural born genius, you're a soloist, you have to do everything yourself. How many of you feel like if I don't do it myself, it's not going to get done? Or if it gets done, it's not going to be done right? If it's to be, it's up to me. I've had that mindset for years and years, decades, to be honest. If it's to be, it's up to me. And Personal accountability is something that we talk about on the show all of the time, because I believe it's part of what leads us and brings us to success in every area of our life is personal accountability, but not to the point to where you cannot trust anyone else to do anything as good as you do. That's an imposter syndrome symptom, something that we need to get over. We talk about this on here. If you want to go far, go together. If you want to go fast, go alone. Yes, but where are you going to go? If you go fast and you don't have anyone with you helping you get to a destination, you could end up anywhere, right? So if you're the perfectionist, you feel like you have to be superhuman, natural genius, you're smarter than everybody, you have to do it yourself, and you're the only person who is an expert in that area. Those are definite symptoms of imposter syndrome, and it's something that we need to work on. While the types appear differently, they all make you feel fraudulent about achievement, right? If you're not the expert. Larry, I know watching the show, Larry drives heavy equipment and he clears land. If Larry didn't think that his backhoe, his excavator, his chipper, shredders, if he didn't feel like his equipment was qualified to do a job, he's going to go get the right piece of equipment to do it, right? You may show up for a job and you realize that the piece of equipment or the tools or the knowledge that you have are not ready for the job at hand. And what you do is you go back and get the right tool to help you achieve the job, right? If you need a bigger cat, if you need a bigger excavator, you're going to go get the one that's going to do the job. Or we're going to go the other way, right? We're going to say, I'm qualified at this certain level, so I'm not going to go take the bigger jobs. I may be able to speak to a group of 100, but I'm not qualified to speak to a group of 1,000. How many of you would have that? You know, my business can grow to a certain level, but I don't think that I'm qualified to get bigger. Can my business expand? Maybe I need to open up multiple locations. Should I talk about franchising my business? Oh my, I don't know that I'm qualified to franchise my business and train someone else to do it. I'm not qualified. But you are genuinely qualified to run the business that you run. You're genuinely qualified to be in the relationships that you're in. And I would wager to a guess on here by faith that many of you are leaders in your relationships. Most of you are. If you weren't a leader, you wouldn't be watching this show. If you weren't a leader of some level in your relationships already, you wouldn't want to watch this to try to improve yourself, because improving yourself is what leaders do. And we all battle every one of these things on the screen right now. I have battled them for years. I still do, and I believe that many of us do. And it's just something that we have to continue to work on. I have told employees many times, get out of the way, let me do it. I would be training someone to make donuts, and at one point I would just have to say, move over, let me show you again, you're not doing it right. It could be real estate where I work, and it could be training them on how to talk to a client or how to respond to an email or a text. And I'd say, just let me write it for you. Just let me do that for you, without actually training them properly for them to be able to do it themselves. I feel like I'm the smartest or I'm the expert. Now, if that person is wanting us to teach them, that's totally different. That's part of that symbiotic relationship. We have a mentor and you have a teacher and a student, right? The mentor and mentee. But all of these things are things that we battle on a regular basis. And when we're done with the job, if we're conscientious about the job that we do, we never believe that we did it good enough. We could have done better, but we do it to the best of the ability at the time. We are not Superman or Superwoman. We may not be a natural genius, but we have flashes of genius. I have them all the time. And my wife will, compliment me on something that I have done or said. And I'm like, well, and I'm just joking, but we all have flashes of genius at one time, but we're not consistently a natural genius. We can't consistently do everything by ourselves. And none of us are absolutely the expert in any one of our field. But if we all suffered from imposter syndrome and we allowed this imposter syndrome to stop us from doing what we do, no one in the world would get anything done. We would all be mindless dolts wandering around, confused and nothing would get done. So while we may feel like we may not be the most qualified to do the things that we do, it's absolutely imperative that we continue to do them while we continue to learn, continue to improve ourself, our mind, our emotions, our will, our strength in our body. All of these things are things that we need to continue to work on. When I was listening to Brendan Burchard a couple of weeks ago, I took a couple of other notes and wanted to share these 3 questions with you. While we are going through life, while we are working in these relationships, working on our businesses, working on our families and our friends, imposter syndrome strikes up and we feel like we're not qualified. We feel like we have this inability to believe that we deserve to be where we are. Or we have legitimately achieved anything as a result of our own efforts or skills. Many people don't recognize when they were born into wealth or they were born into great relationships and they had many of you had some really good parents or mentors growing up, and many of you that watched the show did not. And you don't know that you have legitimately achieved anything as a result of your own efforts. And you didn't have a good role model to help you. Does it not make sense to you that you should learn to recognize that without a good role model, without a good mentor in your life, without working for a boss that potentially taught you all of the best practices and the best methods to do what you do, does it not make sense to you that you are worthy of what you have achieved, that you have legitimately pulled yourself up by the bootstraps or by the ankle straps on your high heels, and you have achieved this for some reason? Does it not make sense to you that you do know enough to be successful? You do know enough to move forward in the field that you're in? You have legitimately achieved that as a result of your own efforts many times. Many people were born into wealth. Many people were handed a business. But most of us that I know in my circles were not, and they've all achieved it through learning on their own. I moved away from Oregon when I was 20 years old. My wife and I discussed this last week, and I've shared it with a couple of people. And my wife in conversation said, well, I know you did. You moved to Texas when you were 20, but you had your dad to call and ask for advice all the time, and he could help you become a man. And I said, that's not true. And she said, what? This is new. This is revelation knowledge. I didn't know this. I said, my dad hated to talk on the phone, and so did I. I called my dad for advice probably 10 times in 20 years. We just didn't. She said, how did you learn to be a man? She goes, when it comes to being a man, you're a pretty good man. How did you learn to be a man? And I'm not the guy in the statue, the self-made man, that statue of the guy carving himself out of a block of granite. But I did learn to put people in my life that could teach me. There were a lot of pastors, business owners, friends, business people that I consistently tried to glean knowledge from on how to act like a man, how to look like a man, how to present myself as a man. And for many years, most of you men watching and women watching realize or have felt that you're an imposter, that you're kind of faking it until you make it and hoping that you make it someday. So you will have achieved the level that you're supposed to be at. But many of us battle this. But Brendan Burchard said this at the end of the speech he was giving. And he wasn't talking about this. He was talking about something else in his life and how little he had achieved as a young man. And many of the things he's achieved in the last few years, because he finally asked himself these 3 questions. And when he was battling with worthiness, he said, will I live? Will I love? And will I matter? And he said, I became acutely motivated by my own mortality. We're all going to be here for a certain amount of time on this planet. And then we will move on to our reward in heaven if we are a believer in Christ. But we have a limited amount of time on this earth. And how much time am I going to allow myself? How much time will you allow yourself to battle with this imposter syndrome? I'm not worthy to be where I am. I'm not worthy to run the business that I run. I'm not worthy to have the level of relationships that I have. If you're going to continue to dwell on those things and carry that imposter syndrome in the back of your mind, how much more of life are you robbing other people of? How much more of your life are you robbing yourself from by having those thoughts and not finding a way to get past them? Will I live? Will I love? And will I matter? Will what I have achieved when I leave this world be worthy? Will I be remembered? Will I leave a legacy? Or will I continue to wallow around in small thinking I'm not worthy, I don't deserve to be here, and someone can always do it better than me? Those are the questions I want you to ask yourself, and then make a commitment to yourself today to say, I will live better. I will do more with my life. I will continue to work on me, yes, because I am worthy. I do deserve to be here. I'm not an imposter. I'm the real deal, baby. And what you see is what you get, but you're going to get the best of me. And as long as we strive to do that, what more can we ask for, right? Will I love? Absolutely. I believe that we should love wholeheartedly everyone that we can, with boundaries. Don't ever forget those, with boundaries, within boundaries. But I will make an effort to love more, to give more of myself. And will I matter? The things that I do in life, I believe, are important. The things that you do in your life are important as well. Let's go out there and believe for that. Let's go out and make the commitment to ourselves that we will live more, we will love more, and we will have a life that matters. That's it for this week, guys. I hope this has had an influence on you, that we have motivated you to success in more areas of life. Be confident that you are where you are for a reason, that your efforts have caused you to be worthy of what you are doing, and that you will continue to work on yourself and do better. Courage does begin at the end of your comfort zone, right? It truly does. And this is one of the areas as well that we need to work on that. If I can help you at all in life, don't hesitate to click on the link to my digital business card going across the bottom of the screen, www.patricklee.work. I'll post that in the comments below this video as well. If there's anything you need to discuss, talk about, if I can help you in real estate or any other area in life, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I appreciate you guys. Thank you, Anne. Appreciate you too. Hearts back to you, lady, my good friend Anne. Until next time, this has been Patrick Lee. Appreciate you guys. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.